Hello, welcome back. Now in the afternoon session, our first speaker is Mr. Alain Hélaïli. His speech is entitled Continuous Delivery at GitHub, How Do We Deploy to Production 50 Times a Day?
Oops. Thank you. All right. Hi, everybody. How's the dinner? The lunch was good. It's always bad in France, because I'm coming from France, when you are the first speaker after lunch, because people have been drinking wine and are sleepy, but I guess it's not a problem here, so that's good. All right, so I'm Alain Hélaïli from GitHub. I'm based in Paris, as I said. And I'm going to talk to you basically today about how do we continuously deploy at GitHub in production. And well, actually, if you were there for the first talk this morning with Quentin, I could actually have been wearing his t-shirt today, because I'm going to explain to you how you can deploy without ever connecting through SSH to your production server. We're doing that, actually. So it was a good talk from him, and we actually happen to have been doing that for a couple of years, actually. All right, so let me start explaining that to you. So first of all, have you ever heard of GitHub? Yeah? Yeah, cool. All right, cool. So just to give you a little background on the history of the company very quickly, so you understand where we're coming from and why we're working the way we are right now. So it started in Silicon Valley. A couple of guys, they had a day job, and they wanted to create a startup, so they had that product idea that they, like social network or whatever, they wanted to create. And it was back in 2007. Git was released in 2005, so that was a hot thing. They had to use Git. But they realized that Git was very hard to use. You know, Git was not meant to be used by human beings. It was meant to be used by Linux contributors. You know, not people like me, definitely, and not people like our founders. They thought like it was, yeah, it's cool, powerful, but wow, it's complicated. And also it's not very collaboration friendly, because these guys had a day job and they were working in different places. So they needed a layer on top of that to be able to collaborate together. So they said, okay, we're going to create a little web interface on top of that. So they did that as a side tool, and they were still doing their main project, their target that they had. And a couple of years later, people started, actually a couple of weeks later, people started saying, hey, we would like to use your stuff as well, because we have the same problem, so can we put our software on your platform? And we're like, yeah, sure, as long as it's open source, you can do that, and I mean, it's free, go ahead, use it. Up to the point where some companies came and said, we want to put our code in your platform, but we want it to be private, so we're willing to pay for that, but you need to add features for us to have that privacy. And that's when our guys said, oh wow, we have a company here. You know, if we need to charge something, we need to create a company. So they created a company. And then they were like, okay, what can we charge for that? And so the service to pay with credit cards on GitHub was Stripe. And back in 2008, Stripe, the minimum amount was $7. You could not charge less than $7 per transaction. We are charging $7 still today. For the basic plan. That was not our choice. We wanted it to be cheaper, but that was the minimum we could charge for Stripe. So it started that way. And very early in the company, even when there were only 3 developers in the company, and they sometimes were gathering in the same room to work together, they happened to be like teenagers. You know, like teenagers, they would be seated on the same couch and text each other, not talk to each other. And they were actually doing the same thing through Slack or whatever else. There was not Slack at the time, but there was chat already. And it started that way. They started to have that concept of asynchronous communication, where it's not because you are next to the guy that you're going to interrupt him or her while she is coding, right? Because coding is it's a creative process. I mean, you need concentration, you need focus, you need some time to get into that thought process. And if you leave that, you would need another, I don't know, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, depends from one person to the other, to get back in that state of mind where you can be productive. So they decided, or naturally, they started on working in that asynchronous way. And having laid the foundation of the company as an asynchronous communication company, we were able to scale that way and to scale all over the world that way. So that's the situation of GitHub today. 574 employees. That was yesterday, but I think it's still accurate. Sometimes it can change very quickly. So 574 employees and people working all over the world. We very early decided that we will not hire based on location, but based on quality of people and what they can bring as an expertise to the company. So we ended up with people in Hawaii, we ended up with people in Australia, we ended up with people homeless, basically people working from one place for 2 months and moving to another place for another 2 months, and it doesn't matter. We don't care where you're living, basically. So it's very quickly, it spread it that way. And it became more and more important that we kept that asynchronous way of working and that we kept a lower touch as possible ways of operating within our teams, like between the dev and the ops. Like we cannot afford at GitHub to have a daily meeting for our team. When some member is in a time zone all the way on the right here, and another one on the left, and one in the middle, you cannot really find time that is convenient for the three of them to have a phone call. Just a phone call. It's hard to have that. So I'm not even talking about a meeting. They will meet eventually, but that will be a couple of times a year and not a couple of times a week. That we cannot do that. So everything needs to be able to. The whole company needs to be able to function. And the whole development team and the whole production team, that's the engineering team. We don't really separate these two. So the whole engineering team needs to work as a group together regardless of the time zone. And we operate 24/7. There is never any downtime. Well, sometimes we have downtimes, but we try to hide them. It's super important to be able to work that way. I mean, Imagine if you were doing the same thing, like in Istanbul. I guess you have to do the same thing, right? With the traffic jam you have. I'm even surprised that you guys can meet on a day, when it takes like 4 hours to get to work. So I really encourage you to try to work that way as well. I mean, it's so much nicer for your life quality. So we have that all these people who are distributed all over the world, and still we managed to deploy continuously to our production environment. So that was the graph for. It started 26th of May, and ended up on June 1st, so the past week, basically, knowing it was a 3-day weekend in the US, because Monday was off. And what you see here is the number of deployments on GitHub.com, so on the live platform, over the last 7 days, knowing that there was only 4 working days for the US. We go up to 480. So if you do the math between 4 and 5 working days, that's close to 100 deployments per day on the live platform, on GitHub.com. Just so you know, GitHub.com is 38, or maybe more now, million visitors per month. I think we ranked website number 67 on the planet. 62? All right, keeps improving. So number 62 on the planet. Well, after many Facebook websites, many Google websites, and Microsoft has probably a ton of them as well. So it's quite a big website, right? So what's our secret? How do we achieve that, basically? So it takes a couple of things to be able to achieve that. Of course, you need to, lay out a plan and think about what you're going to do. So we didn't switch, from doing the old style to that new style. We've always tried to operate in a way that we could continuously deploy. So that was from day one, almost. So it makes things a lot easier, obviously. But the 4 recipes, the 4 ingredients of the recipe, rather, are these ones. So I talked about asynchronous communication, and that's very important for us. So to illustrate that, we are using mainly Slack. We used to use something else before. I mean, we're using a chat client. Whether it's Slack or something else, it doesn't really matter for us. Slack is a nicer one, but we could use something else. It doesn't matter. We are not using emails. We are hardly ever writing any emails within the company. What we use is obviously GitHub issues. So whenever we're talking to each other, we're creating a new issue. And that's a huge benefit for the communication within the teams. It's about putting in front of everybody what we're going to do and how we're doing things. It's not about sharing a secret between two people, because whether you want it or not, when you're sending an email to somebody, you're creating a secret between two people. And it's super hard to share that information later, because somebody might forward the email to somebody else. You as the original writer, you won't know that, so you don't know who knows what you've been writing. And somebody could comment on that, and then somebody else could forward the first emails. And then you don't know where the information is anymore. And when people are leaving, the trail of information is lost forever. So for me, the best way to lose an information is to write it into an email and send it to somebody. You're sure it's going to be lost eventually. So that's why we're not doing that. We create an issue. And an issue is a kind of message, right? Eventually, it will trigger an email, so it's a notification. But the root of the information, where it sits, the truth, is within an issue, and everybody can see it. So everybody can comment on that, and everybody can bring a contribution to that. And I think if you think about it, it's key in the DevOps mentality, where it's not about just the dev, it's not just about the ops, it's about a common way of doing things, a sharing state of mind. And you should think that you might not know who is going to be the best person to help you to do something, right? It's about working as a team, but you don't know exactly who are the members of the team to execute that particular task that you need to do. So if you put the information in front of everybody, most likely somebody with the right mindset and the right skill is going to see that information and start helping you out. And it proved that every day. Every day you find somebody who's raising his hand and say, hey, I can help you on that. And you had no idea that this guy had that skill or that he had that information to help you. So it's different, totally different way of doing things. But it's easy to do. It's actually fun to do, because it's easier to write an issue than sending an email most of the time, I think. And you can drag and drop GIFs and do some kind of funny stuff as well. So it's really a very efficient way of communicating internally. So asynchronous communication, a common philosophy. I'll show you that right after. And we're using continuous delivery, obviously. I showed you how many times we're delivering in the production platform every day. But in order to do that, we're using something that we call GetUp. So GetUp is doing ops through a chat client. No SSH anymore. No SSH, no black windows, or like whatever color you decide to have your terminal in. It's through Slack, or before we had another client again. We're doing all our operation, including deployment, through the chat window. And I'll show you how it works. So first of all, philosophy. I think that as a team and as an extended team, even more when you are starting to work closely with people that have different mindsets or different culture or different expertise. So when you start putting developers and ops people in the same room, they need to share things, at least. They need to share common ways, common ideas, common goals, so different things that will ensure that as a global team or as a larger team, you're going to do things in an efficient way without screaming at each other every day, right? You need to be able to rely on the people and know how they are behaving, and what do they believe in, basically. So we have that, what we call the Zen of GitHub. And so it's a bunch of ideas or mottos or whatever you call them. And actually at GitHub, one thing we believe in is that everything should have a link. Everything should have a URL. If there is not a link for something, it doesn't exist in our world. So that's one of the basics of asynchronous communication, right? If you have a meeting with somebody, well, probably the rest of the team was not part of that meeting. Whether they are in a different location or they were away on vacation, doesn't matter. So if you didn't write somewhere what happened during that meeting with a link that you can share with other people, then we consider that meeting just didn't happen. And whatever decision you took during that meeting, you can just throw that away. We don't care. It didn't happen for us. So even these words, you get a link for that, all the way up. So if you, for instance, if you try to play with our APIs and you go through the documentation on how to use GitHub APIs, you will find that link. And you can, every time you're hitting that link, you will find one of these sentences, so you can play with that if you want. So that's the first thing. The second thing that is really important is the way our developers are working. And that's the foundation of DevOps. It's about making sure that the developer can do his job and leverage what the ops people have created for them to be able to go to the end of the cycle. Somebody said that earlier today. It's not about the dev guy doing some ops jobs. It's about the ops guys making sure that the dev is free to do his job all the way to the production environment without having to do ops things. And so that's what we do. So when a developer works, what it will do basically is that it will create a feature branch out of master. So this is that line over there. Do you see my? Oh no, you don't have my cursor. That's too bad. Can I? Yeah, here. This is master branch. All right, and whenever we have a new feature to implement, we're going to create a branch out of master. All right, you guys are using Git? Yeah. Okay, so that's something you know. So we create feature branches. So every time we have something new to write, we create a new branch out of master, and the developer usually create a couple of commits. But like sometimes he will just like add a white space to a line, just to trigger the process and to open a pull request right away. So the pull request, for the ones who are less familiar with that, the pull request is a kind of discussion that you attach to a branch. And the branch being a feature, it's a discussion about the feature at the end of the day. And what we want to do is that we want to have, within the team, a discussion about the feature that's going to be created very early in the cycle. It could be just one developer, and a lot of times it's only one developer working on one feature. But we don't want the developer to do all his job, and at the end of the day, ask to his peers, like, is it good or not? And people say, no, it's not good, you have to redo everything. I mean, this is stupid, that's a waste of time. So that's why we want to create a pull request right away, so the developer can say, hey, here's what I'm going to do. Here's my design, here's my screenshots or my mockups or whatever. Here's my architectural thoughts. That's how I'm going to create my code, basically. And then the guys of the teams, who could be anywhere on the planet, are going to say yes, no, or you should consider this, you should consider that, don't forget to do this. And then the discussion happens here in the pull request, not in the meeting room, not through a WebEx or whatever. It's in the pull request, and it's stored over there. We know everybody, we know what everybody said, and if your voice is not showing up in the pull request, then it means there was no link for that. In the pull request, every comment has a link. So if you said already something, well, too bad for you. It doesn't count, basically. So you need to write in the pull request, and you need to exchange with people, and you need to bring your advice on that. And then once we have a consensus on what we're going to do, then commits happens, discussion continues, and at the end of the process, there's the code review. The code review is very important as well. I don't know if you guys are doing that. Again, code review, it's still a discussion between developers, but then it's discussion about what has been really written. It's about now commenting on the lines of code to make sure that there is no problem, there is no design problem, there is no bug that we can catch with your eyes. Linus Torvalds say, if you have enough eyes on a problem, it will be shallow. You will be able to see it. So that's about that. We do continuous integration. We believe in unit testing and automated testing and everything. But there are some things that only human beings can see, and the earlier you can see it, the better, obviously. And it's also, code review has many benefits. So I really encourage you to start investigating and investing in that. It doesn't take that much time. Sometimes people feel like I'm reviewing some code that might not have any problems, so I'm wasting my time. I'd rather look at code that has a problem, so I know that I'm spending that time for the right reason. But code review, it's great because you, as a member of the team, and maybe not the developer, you see what the other guys have been doing or the girls have been doing. So you learn the whole code base. You're not just in charge of your slice of the code in the application. You are now the owner of the whole application. And whoever is leaving for vacation and has a bug, well, you can jump in and you can fix his bug because his code already. Sometimes the code is too big that that it's going to take you 3 days to go through the whole code base to find the bug, and you're like, okay, it's going to come back after the weekend. Let's keep the bug that way and wait for him to come back for vacations and we just live with it. You don't need to do that anymore because you know the code. And also you make sure that way everybody starts working the same way, basically, or having the same practices, because you are learning from the other ways of doing codes. You're learning about other patterns, because very often in computing, we learn new framework, but we don't learn really very much new algorithm or new ways of doing things. So by looking at what other people are doing, you're learning new stuff. So it's a great, from an educational point of view, it's great as well. So really, really, I encourage you to do that. And again, if you are done the discussion when the pull request was open, then the code review is very fast because you know exactly what you're looking for. You know exactly what the guy is supposed to do or what the girl is supposed to write. So reviewing that code is actually easy. Well, if you didn't discuss before, you have to discover everything, and it changes the equation. And also, it might be longer at the beginning because you might not be used to code, documenting everything and putting comments everywhere and really explaining what you're doing. So as the process goes on, you learn, you get better at that, and you make the code review from your peers faster as well. So that's quite important. All right, so we do the discussion and we review the code, and then we ship. So, of course, we went through continuous integration and everything, but right away, what we want to do is to ship our code to a production environment. All right, immediately. We've done some unit testing, but we're not going to do some load testing and some very complex end-to-end testing, that can take hours and hours and hours. Being one of the top websites of the planet, and with 38 million visitors per month, we figured out that there was no test lab that was big enough to be, solid enough to give us a straight answer as, is that code really working in production? The only way to be sure that your code is running in production is actually to put it in the production environment. So part of the delivery cycle, we're going to ship it to the production environment, and that's why we're shipping that often, actually. That's why we're shipping 100 times a day, because in order to validate your code, you have to push it to production and maybe rewrite something and push it again in production and again and again. Well, we would like not too much per day, obviously, because we want quality code to reach production, but eventually, we want you to push your code in production to make sure that it's working. So every developer, actually, is going to push his own branch to the production environment in order to validate that this code is good, all right? So 100 times a day by developers that are all over the planet, and might be like 10 or 20 developers per day pushing this 100 times the code. So we need something that was rock solid in order to make sure that you're not fat figuring something, or you just not dropping the database, or what other stupid things. It actually has happened at GitHub once. Somebody dropped the production database. That was our CEO, so he was allowed to, and we had a backup. So we ship to the production, and we need that to be rock solid. So in order to be able to do that reliably, we created a robot. So we have U-Bot. That's our robot. That's the guy, it's a guy, who is doing all that job for us. So we just asked U-Bot to do the job for us. And U-Bot is actually very popular. You see, there was an article on Wired about U-Bot, and it was called the hardest working GitHubber. That's the guy who's doing the most job in the company, and it's a robot, because he's doing a lot of things. He's doing a lot of very useful things, but he can do also fun things for us. So a couple examples. So I can ask U-Bot through my Slack window to give me a map of Borsa Istanbul, for instance. It can get me images. It can get me the food trucks. It can get me funny GIFs. So I should share actually that with content, because I guess he likes the GIFs. So it can do a lot of different things and very funny things for us. But it can do also more serious things. What it can do, first of all, is that it can listen to the activity on a repo and tell us in the chat room what happens in that repo. So I got a repo with my team, and whenever somebody is committing codes, opening a pull request, or merging a pull request, or anything else, it gets me a message in my chat client, so I know what other people are doing. So I just need to be on my development environment and on my chat window, and I see everything that's going on in my team, basically. So I don't need to go anywhere else most. Well, I need to go to GitHub from time to time, but just when I know that something is new, basically. So that's the first thing it does. Then what it does as well is that it's controlling our continuous integration platform as well, and it's sending us feedback in our pull requests about what happened. So we were, earlier today, we were seeing a lot of screens about Jenkins. We're using Jenkins as well, but we don't really know about it. We never go in the Jenkins interface. I mean, if, I don't want to pick on him, but every time he was doing a build, he had like to click 5 times basically on the window. Like, we don't want to click 5 times. That's painful, you know. It's really long to click 5 times. So UBot is getting the information back for us, and it's showing it right in the pull request. So you see, every time we're pushing some code in a pull request, that's the real GitHub repo. You know, in GitHub we got an organization called GitHub and a repo called GitHub. So if you go, you cannot, but I can, go to github.com/github/github. On the pull request, we see that. We see that for each push on pull request, we get 15 different checks that are being executed. So it's probably 15 different Jenkins jobs. And for each of them, I'm getting an information back. And whenever I want to, for instance, see the details of that one job over there, I just need to click on the details here, and it gets me right into that build in Jenkins. So that's our version of Jenkins. We modified it a little bit. We call it Jenki. But one click away, and I know why my build didn't pass, or I know what happened in that build right away. I don't need to go through Jenkins, log in, see things, or like query things or whatever. I don't need to have a login in Jenkins. UBot, has the login and give me the information I need right away. So it's simplifying my day. It's simplifying everybody's day, basically. It's because an ops guy created that integration for us, and now we are just using it. And again, it's the safest system on the planet because nobody has a password or so to the GitHub Jenkins platform. So there's nothing to do with that. So we had our code review. We have our build, everything is green, so we can go further. So we can go further and we can say, okay, now I want to deploy my branch to the production environment. So the first thing I'm going to do is ask UBot, where can I deploy? So WCID, where can I deploy? And it's going to list me all the different environments where we can push, because obviously we have the production environment. We got couple other environments that we might want to try out before. So UBot is going to list me the different environments that we have. Some are mutually exclusive, so only one person can push at a time. Some other, like the branch lab, it's some environments are going to be provision on the fly, so it's always available because I can always provision more and more machines to deploy my system. So we can start by deploying on the branch lab environment. So you see from my chat window, I just say .deploy. So every command for UBot start with a dot, basically. Or you can say also UBot deploy. It's 2 syntax. So .deploy my branch, so GitHub/mobile_nav_experiment to branch lab. So I want to deploy that branch to the branch lab environment, and UBot is going to do the job for me. So it's getting me or my colleague actually back some messages and is doing the job. So see the request was sent at 5:44, and at 5:47 UBot replied in the chat window saying it's done, and it's done, and I've created that link so you can just click on it and review your deployment and test it, right? It's deployed on the fly, so I might not know where it is. So UBot is telling me where it is, so I just need to click on that. And not only I get that information here, but I get that information back on my pull request as well. So on my pull request, and it's a standard GitHub feature, you guys can use that. The status I showed you earlier, you can use that. The deployment API is also something that you can use. It's about sending back information in the pull request about the deployment, like this feature has been deployed, where, is it still active, what's the link, so I can test it. So you could ask some other people to, like the business owner, the person who wants that feature badly in his application. You want to test it, just go to the pull request where your feature is being implemented and just click on the link over there and you'll be able to check it out. You get the full history in the pull request. All the discussion, all the design discussion, all the implementation discussion, all the deployment discussions, everything is on the pull request. You get a full life cycle of a feature development from A to Z, basically. That's the idea. So you can click on that and see if it worked or not, all right? Well, if we are happy with that, we want to go to the next step. We want to deploy to the production environment. So obviously, we don't deploy several features at the same time to the production environment. We want to make sure, that we're not stepping on each other's toes, basically. So we have a queue to deploy in production. So with the .queue for GitHub, I know what the status of my queue, basically. So what we see here is that some M. Clark is actually testing in production right now, and there's Mac McQuaid who is queuing, so he'll be the next one deploying. So somebody is testing at the moment, there is somebody else waiting, and we'll be the next one, basically in the queue. All right, so we're happy about that. If there were like 10 people in the queue, that would be long, but obviously it's very short, so people are usually testing for like 10 minutes, so you know that within 20, 30 minutes, it'll be your turn. So don't go to lunch now, or have a short lunch. And then, so if you're happy with that, you can say queue me to deploy. Queue me to deploy that branch. And so you're basically going to be the number 2. Sorry, I'm on the wrong screen. All right, so you're in the queue, and there's one person ahead of you. That guy is still testing. So you're in the queue. And a couple of minutes later, so how long did it take? For 3:43 to 3:54, so 21 minutes basically. Something happened, so the queue got emptied, so people finish a test, whether they release their feature or they roll back their feature, doesn't matter. But that's our turn now. Okay, that's our turn, so we have the lock, so we can do whatever we want. And what we decide to do here is to deploy to the Canary environment. So Canary environment will be a subset of servers in the production environment, so we don't want to mess up the whole platform. We want to test on a smaller set of server. So we ask for that, and so Hewlett is going to do his job, so he's going to merge my code with the master branch in a new branch. We haven't touched master yet, right? Master has not changed with our code, but we're creating a fake merge or like a virtual merge of the two branches, and we're deploying that. And Hewlett is automatically selecting the list of servers where we're going to deploy that. So that Canary environment, I blurred that because it's actual server names in the production environment. And then, so you get a message back saying, okay, you can now test your feature. It's in the production environment, and you can look at things, right? And then you can observe what's going on. I'll show you after how we observe things. So you do that. And then once you're happy with that, you actually deploy to the real production environment. And again, Hewlett is doing that. You still have the lock. You don't have to wait, all right? You still have the lock, and you can deploy to another Canary environment or to the world production environment. So you do that, and what happened then is that Hewlett is sending you back links to what we call the deployment confidence dashboard and the haystack firehose. So these are two things that the developer who is pushing production needs to have a look at in order to make sure that his new feature didn't break anything in the system, basically. The deployment confidence dashboard, that's one of the two links we had. So you go right to that link and you see this information. So it's also, for me, it's fundamental that the monitoring part is not for the ops people. The monitoring part of your production environment should be for everybody. Like the developer should be able to access that, because the developer might be the best guy to interpret the problems in the production environment, because he knows what code he's been releasing and everything. Same for the logs. There's so many companies where it's so hard to get the production logs for the developers, and they should be able to analyze that every day, basically. So the deployment confidence, they will get the response time, the number of exceptions, all the key metrics that you might want to have. But they will also get what we call haystack. So the haystack is where you find the needles being the exceptions on the website, basically. So here you see the picture of the people who have deployed, and our guys and my colleague was probably here. So you see here that was his Canary deployment, here was his production deployment. And if you click on him, you will be able to see what was the pull request about. You will have a link to the pull request as well, so you can check the code that was introduced in the production environment at that time. So I guess there was the audit at Zalando where you needed to know what happened, when happened, who did that. Well, that's what you get here, basically. Who approved that, that's part of the pull request as well. And you will get all the exceptions that happened in that time frame, and you know if you created something wrong or not. And if somehow you missed something, well, U-Bot is there to help you still. Because U-Bot is going to listen to all the alerts in Nagios and will send you back information in Slack whenever there's a problem. So if we have a problem here, U-Bot is going to open an issue. It will send you an information here, but it will also open an issue in GitHub. And not only is going to open you an issue, but it's going to investigate for some information for you as well. It will, provide you some status right into the issue as well. It will provide you some graphs. It will provide you all kind of information that we know is usually relevant to troubleshoot such a problem, basically. So you don't start with nothing, just a message, just an error message. You start with some materials that you can start interpret. What you don't see as well here is it will send you also the list of previous issues, previous incidents that we had in the 10 or 15 previous minutes, because it could be related as well. So it's about providing you as much context as you can, basically. So the Nagios things, the graph. You can also query the logs. We have a Splunk engine, so I can query Splunk from my chat window as well. I can query the graphs as well from my chat window. I can query everything. And the goal here is that not only I don't need to have any login to any system. Again, U-Bot has a login, so I don't need to have a password, so I cannot lose a password, or I cannot be hijacked for the password because I don't know it. But also, I'm doing this investigation in front of the rest of my team, and so they are aware of what's going on, and they can help me, and they can say, I've been looking at that one too, and that's what I thought, and everything. So we are sharing our thought process that way, all right? Hopefully, everything is good. We succeeded in our deployment, so we can now merge to master. So it's only after being in production that we are merging to master. And when we're doing that, basically, obviously it happens on the pull request. So on the pull request, we're merging the thing. We said that we confirmed our stuff in the production environment. We are merging, so we have a merge commit over there. And again, U-Bot is going to tell everybody that I did that merge or somebody did that merge. And as we merge our feature, it means something. It means that we're done testing it. Whether I merge it or whether I roll back it from the production environment, U-Bot knows that it can clear the queue now. It can go to the next person, and the next person will get a message saying it's his turn, and it's start over again. And we have 99 more iterations for the day. All right? That's it for me. Do you guys have any question? Yeah?
When there's a check going on, who are the participants of that check? For example, when somebody pushes a pull request.
Yeah, just get the mic. It would be better for everybody to hear.
For example, when somebody starts a pull request, who are the participants at that chat? Does everybody see the message, or?
It could be anybody. It's going to be mainly the people belonging to his team or her team. But I, as somebody who is in front of customers every day, could also chip in and say, here's the feedback from my customers, and here's what they want, and so I think we should do it that way and that way. So it's really like everybody is allowed to comment. There is no restriction. Everybody sees everybody. There is no secret repository. There is no. I mean, you might not be able to write on. I mean, commit some code on GitHub, but everybody can comment on pull requests and issues. Everybody. Nobody will ever tell you, hey, you have no rights to say something here.
Okay, but supposing there are many people in the process, there might be many messages.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. There could be
Super
a lot of
people.
messages. But I mean, very few pull requests will have many messages. Like usually a pull request leaves for like a week or 2 weeks. It's hardly longer than that. And most of the time you got 6-7 people involved. That's the average, right? So, but sometimes you can have a lot more people, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any other question? Yeah.
The developers deploy the features that they developed by themselves, or they develop the features, they deploy the features by themselves to production?
Oh yeah. All the workflow here, like that guy here that you see, like Terabyte, that you see the picture of, he was the guy writing the feature. He's like fully independent from A to Z to code this. I mean, he's collaborating with his peers obviously, but he's in charge of that from A to Z.
Every developer has a right to deploy to production also.
Sorry?
After the checks, each developer has right to deploy to production directly.
Right. What we do is that we want to have a code review. We want somebody else to say, yes, it sounds good, so yeah, looks good to me, like LGTM, looks good to me, or like thumbs up, and so you say, okay, I can now push it forward and try in production environment. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, if you have more questions later, just come to me, and I have some GitHub stickers and some U-Bot stickers for people who want. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hélaïli. Next, we have a word from our sponsors. I would like to invite Complex Professional Services Sales Director, Mr. Osman Kayhan, and Atomic Pre-Sales Middle East Manager, Mr. Yücem Çağlar.
Hello, my name is Osman Kayhan. I'm from Complex Turkey, and I'm responsible from professional services. It's a pleasure for us to be here as a sponsor, and we are together with our vendor Atomic. I will do a short introduction of Complex Turkey and then give the speech to Yücem. Complex Turkey is a global company with more than 2,000 employees and 36 branches in all over the world. And we are representing more than 100 different vendors. One of the key areas of Complex Turkey is DevOps consultancy. We provide solution to our customers end to end. First, we start with an assessment workshop, And then we provide an assessment report for our customers. This report shows them where are they now and where they want to be in the future. And after then, we discuss with our customer together for the roadmap. And we provide for our customers both solution, consultancy, also tools, and we help our customers to cope with the challenge of cultural change. For more detailed information, you can visit us in our stand. Thank you very much, and I give the speech to Yücem from Atomic Software. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Yücem. I am Manager Pre-Sales Middle East from Atomic Dubai office. Atomic has the aim of empowering your business through automation. We are a software company purely focused on automation. We don't do anything else, just automation. With more than 20 years of experience, more than 2,600 customers in the world and all over the world, we provide 3 lines of different automation areas to our customers. That's the workload automation, release automation, and service orchestration, where release automation and service orchestration in particular is within the DevOps concept. We are recognized by all industry researchers, the usual suspects. This is our blueprint for achieving continuous delivery. This is how we see the organizations, their maturity across these 4 stages. It's not about the size of the organization, but it's rather about the maturity on DevOps for that organization. You have stage 1, which is everything is done via manual commands and scripts. Stage 2 is where you start automating your deployments, construct your pipelines, have the ability to rollbacks, etc. Stage 3 is where you orchestrate your tool chain. You provision full stacks and you do your deployments on top of these stacks and you orchestrate entire life cycle. Stage 4 is where the organization is basically empowering fully continuous delivery. Every single application in the organization is released automatically on newly provisioned stacks for test, let's say, and then finally released in production. While we are doing that, we know that heterogeneity counts. We have out-of-the-box plugins and integrations with all of these logos that you see in the screen. Probably there are some missing ones even from here as well. We help you building your workflow using these out-of-the-box actions for your particular deployment lifecycle. All of these actions are available in our marketplace, which is our app store concept. If you go to marketplace.atomic.com, you can see all available out-of-the-box actions which you can use to automate the releases of your applications. So, we can get started right away. You can go to the preview of the possible website, which is on the left side, where we would provision your own private sandbox for you, where you can play around with Atomic, test it on a multi-tenant cloud environment, and see how it can help you to automate releases of your applications. And also, we offer you the DevOps maturity model, where we assess your organization based on the details that you provide us, and give you recommendations based on your team's maturity level, how we can help you better to move forward in your organization. These are some of our application release automation customers, which we have helped them in their DevOps concept. Many big names, many small names as well, because here the size of the organization simply doesn't matter that much. It's about the culture of the organization and their maturity. Any questions? You can, as Osman said, you can visit us at our stand for any further details. And we have our demo session at 4:40 this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next on our agenda, we have another word from our sponsors. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Hewlett Packard Enterprise Marketing Manager, Mr. Emre Onat.
Thank you very much. My name is Emre Onat. I work in the software division for Hewlett Packard Enterprise. So we have actually not a very short video, but I think I will have to be very quick about this. So today I will just briefly talking about the vision of Hewlett Packard Enterprise. And yeah, we can start with the video. I'm very happy to be here with you.
Barriers to entry are falling across every industry, and the winners will be those who can turn ideas into reality at the speed of imagination.
We're on the cusp of enormous change now, and it's driven by what we describe as the idea economy. Ideas have always been the lifeblood of businesses. The difference now is from idea to realization of that idea to actually being in business has gone from years to potentially days.
HP is launching a new company, Hewlett Packard Enterprise, to help customers thrive in this new era where IT and business strategy aren't separate. They're inseparable.
It's almost like the competitive matrix kind of thing, right? Here's what others are doing. Hewlett Packard Enterprise really is the only company that takes that combination of hardware, software, services, or the human side, and brings it all together into one thing.
Our objective, our sole objective, is to ensure the success of our customers as they navigate this new style of business powered by IT. In your career, the chance that you get to reinvent a Fortune 50 company, I'd say, are almost zero. And that's an exciting opportunity for us.
Everything we do here is all about keeping the customer at the center and then, aligning our strategy to help them progress with their objectives. And obviously, speed and agility are things that they have to improve.
Hewlett Packard Enterprise is on a mission to help enterprises adapt to the new realities of the idea economy, helping them build flexible IT infrastructures, find valuable insights in data, deal with cyber threats, and enable their workforces to be productive wherever they are.
Every company is a technology company because if you are not moving your infrastructure to the new style of IT, you run the risk of not being able to compete with a disruptor in your industry. It's a whole different world today than it was even 5 or 10 years ago.
Bill and Dave started this a little over 75 years ago, and they started it to do things that didn't exist yet. The entire reason I joined Hewlett Packard was probably one line that came out of Dave Packard, which was make a contribution. Our job in life is to illuminate the road ahead and to have others follow our tail lights.
From the garage where Silicon Valley was born to a new era with two companies, Hewlett Packard Enterprise continues to push the boundaries of technology.
As we separate into two new companies, we want to be able to lean forward to refocus, refresh, reignite innovation, and take these two companies to places that perhaps we never dreamed they could go.
Welcome to the idea economy. What will you think of next?
So we actually live in a digital economy, as mentioned in the video. Currently, we have around 3 billion people online, and the BI intelligence estimation is that there will be 5 billion people online by 2020. And there will be 31,000 connected devices, as well as 25 million applications by 2020. So this is a massive change and disruption. So we basically call this world the idea economy. We used to have the agricultural economy, we used to have the industrial economy, we used to have the information economy. Now it's time for the idea economy. Turning into ideas, new ideas into new products, solutions, even new companies and industries has never been so easier and accessible. So let's take Uber as an example, right? Uber is one of the biggest, actually the biggest taxi provider companies in the world. They have no single car with a market cap of 50 billion. And they are across the world, around 60 countries. Another example mentioned in the morning is Airbnb, Twitter. So there are so many ideas out there waiting to be turned into new businesses, new services, and new products even. So we have 4 transformation areas. One is transform. We believe that the hybrid infrastructure is important for optimizing costs and increasing performance. Protecting your digital assets has never been so critical in the massive threats environment. Thirdly, the data-driven organizations, empowering the data-driven organizations. We can help you analyze your human data, machine data, and all sorts of data, real-time actionable. So we can provide you actionable insights. Last but not least, enabling workplace productivity, basically providing a great user experience for customers and even for employees, anytime, anywhere, on any device. So we have breadth and depth of HPE software portfolio, from application development, application delivery and test management, to IT operations and cloud management, enterprise security, information management and governance, and finally the big data analytics platform we have underneath of all products. And lastly, we have a lot of customer cases. So we have a lot of references worldwide and also in Turkey as well. So we work with many financial institutions, retail, etc. So ready to help you for that. With that, we have a demo session, I guess, at 4:20. And also yesterday, we launched our new product, which is called HP ALM Octane for DevOps and Agile platforms. So we will be mentioning that at the demo zone. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Onat. Now, I guess you've all been looking forward to this section. We have the open space sessions in the foyer and in the 2 separate meeting rooms. First of all, Mr. Dan Meher will make a brief explanation on open space before the coffee break. Mr. Meher, please. Dan Meher gelmek üzere. Bu arada ben Türkçe açıklayayım. Türkler olarak Türkçe konuşabiliriz sanırım. Herhalde sabahtan beri çoğunuzun sabırsızlıkla beklediği bölüme geldik. Open Space bölümüne. Konuları seçmek üzere ve işte sürecin nasıl işlediğini anlatmak için şimdi Dan Meher gelecek. Daha sonra kahve arası olacak ve sonra da Open Space'e geçeceğiz.
Gelene kadar çok özet bir bilgi verebiliriz. Daha önce Open Session'a katılan var mıdır diye sorsam, çok yeni bir konsept çünkü. Konuları siz belirliyorsunuz. Konu yok. Dolayısıyla ilginizi çeken, konuşmak istediğiniz, tartışmak istediğiniz konuları sizlere kağıtlar dağıtıyor olacağız. Aralarda dolaşacağız. Sizler bu kağıtları dolduruyor olacaksınız. O yüzden herkesin katılımını bekliyoruz.
And the stage goes to... Hello. We good? Okay. This one. All right, good. We got some microphones. All right. Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing? Doing all right? Yeah? All right. My name's Daniel. I'm from Mozilla. Maybe you've heard of Mozilla. It's a very small company. We make a niche market product called a web browser, which you may have used at some point in your careers, called Firefox. Show of hands, who here has ever heard of Firefox? Good. Show of hands, who here actually uses Firefox? That's better than I expected. Thank you.